So today I am going to show you how to make a really simple, basic portrait or self-portrait. And we are going to begin by first drawing it out with some very simple steps. You will need a pencil, a very good eraser, and if you can get hold of a piece of paper in the shape of a football, this is going to come in handy. It is not necessary, but it is really going to be a nice little tool to have. And then when we go to shade, we're going to use a Q-tip, a stump, and a cotton ball. We're going to draw the shape of the head. So there's many different ways you can do this. I am going to show you again very simple ways. So I am going to do almost like an upside down oval. And as you can see, I'm drawing super light because we always draw light until we get it right. And you can also see that my upside down egg is really filling up most of my paper, okay? Like I am going to draw very lightly a line right down the middle. And I'm going to draw a line right in the middle going horizontally. I am going to draw two more lines, and these lines that we're drawing, boys and girls, are going to be there to help us and guide us. I'm going to find the middle of this bottom section here. So where my middle line is and my chin, I'm going to find the middle right about here. You can put your finger there, make sure that's the middle of the bottom half, and I am going to draw another line across that section. And now I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to find the middle of this bottom section, which is right about here, and I'm going to draw another line here. We are going to begin with the eyes because everything depends on the placement of the eyes. And that's where this football is going to come in handy. Again, you don't have to have it, but it is really a useful tool. So I'm going to set this football right in the middle of the face. And you might be wondering why I'm doing that. We don't have an eye in the middle of our face, do we? No, we don't. But this is one of the first tricks artists do. We know that the space between the two eyes is the size of one eye. So I'm going to place that football right there, making sure the corners are on that eye. I'm just going to hold it down, and I'm going to make a mark here and here. Okay? And that is going to let me know where I need to place my two eyes. So now that I have that space, I'm just going to move it right over here, making sure that corner is touching. And I'm going to make another mark here. And I am going to trace my eye. Make sure that the two corners of the eye are sitting right on that line, okay? And I am going to carefully trace the football. And now I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm gonna take my eye and I am going to move it over here, making sure that the corners are sitting right on. So I don't want my eye like this or like this. I want it to make sure that the corners are sitting on that line. And I'm going to trace this football. Now we are finished with the eye. So right now it looks like a football. I am going to make it look like a lemon. And before I do that, I am going to erase the line inside the eye as well as the line in between the eye, okay? I'm going to leave these two here because those are going to guide me for my ears. And I'm going to erase the inside corner of my football. Now, what I'm going to do to the inside corner to make this look like a lemon is I'm going to create a little bump that kind of dips down, kind of like a lemon. A lemon has a little bump on one side where it was picked from the tree. And whatever you do to one eye, you're going to do to the other eye. And those are called tear ducts, okay? That's where our tears are made. And to that tear duct, I'm just going to make a little curve here and a little curve here, okay? Now we can start working on the colored part of our eye. So that is the iris. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to draw a circle. That's going to make you look like you're scared. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw almost what looks like parentheses, okay? So my lines are curving in. Be careful, don't make them like this. Make sure that they're curving in, okay? Like they're coming together. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other one. And boys and girls, it's okay if your eyes do not look exactly the same. They are not twins, so it's okay if they're a little bit different. So you can see that I didn't draw the top of the circle or the bottom. I just drew the sides of the circle. That's our iris. That's the colored part of our eye. And now it's time for the pupil. So the pupil is the black dot in the middle that we see from. So I am going to make a circle and I'm going to shade that in. I'm going to do another one over here. I'm going to make a circle and I'm going to shade it in. Now to my eyes, right next to that pupil, I am going to draw another circle, but this one I'm going to leave empty. This one's going to be blank. And this is going to later become the reflection in our eye to make our eyes look nice and shiny and realistic. Now we're going to do the eyelids. So we're going to do the eyelid on top. That's what opens and closes. And the eyelid is going to be the length of the football, and it's going to curve just like the football did, all the way across. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. It's going to curve just like the football, and it's going to go all the way across. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of the eye, but to the bottom of the eye, that line is going to be very close to the football, much closer than the one that's on top. I'm going to do one here and one here. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to work on the eyebrows, and this is where you're going to use your finger as a tool. So you're going to take your finger and you're going to put it right above the eyelid, just like this, and you're going to make little marks. Again, guidelines to help you. So I'm going to put my finger here so I can still see the eyelid, and I'm going to make a little mark, and I'm going to move it over here. I can still see the eyelid. My finger's touching the eyelid. I'm going to make a mark here. And I'm going to do it one more time over here. Okay? And now I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye. And the reason I do this with my finger is so that I make sure that my eyebrow is evenly spaced out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect the dots. I'm going to connect this one to this one, and I'm going to connect this one to this one. Now our eyebrows are not lines, so I'm just going to do the shape of the eyebrow. So I do a line straight up here, and then I just follow it along, and when I get to the end, it's going to connect. So here I do a straight line, but here they connect. I'm going to do the same thing over here, straight line, and then I'm going to connect it as it goes to the end. And again, boys and girls, don't worry if they do not look the same. So to the eyelashes, this is really important, okay? So the eyelashes, you never want to make them straight. You always want to make them curved. So this is a really good trick. So I'm going to go to where my pupil is, and I'm going to move straight up to the top of my football. And I'm going to make curved lines going out. So they're not straight, they're going to be curved going out. So I'm going to go to my pupil, come straight up, and I'm going to start curving my eyelashes slowly, and as they get closer to the end of my eye, they're going to be longer. Okay, so I went from my pupil and I worked my way out. Now here's the trick. When you do this side, they're shorter, but they go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go back up, and now I'm going to go in the opposite direction, and they're not going to be as long. And I'm going to do the same to the bottom. So my bottom eyelashes are a lot shorter than the top ones, but I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to do it on the bottom line. So not on the football line, but on the bottom line. So I'm going to go to my pupil, and I'm going to come straight down, and now I'm going to do really short, almost you can't even see them, going out, and now I'm going to come again to the center, and I'm going to work my way towards the middle of my face. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So I'm going to go to my pupil. Now we can start working on the nose. So you remember this line and this line that we made here? Okay, so this line right here is where our nose is going to sit. So we know where our nose is going to sit, but how do we know how wide to make the nose? So this is another trick. So you're gonna go to your tear duct and you're gonna make a really light line going straight down, and you're gonna stop at this line. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So it almost looks like a swing. And again, boys and girls, these lines are super duper light, okay? So now I know how wide to make my nose, and I know that my nose needs to sit right here on this line. I'm going to start with a really light circle, I know we don't have a circle for a nose, but this is gonna help us when we go and shade later. So I'm gonna make a circle, and then next to that circle, I'm gonna do those parentheses again, okay? I'm going to do one here and one here, okay? So now I'm gonna erase some lines. I'm going to erase that middle line. I'm going to erase these two lines that guided the width of my nose. And now I'm going to erase the top of that circle. So now it almost looks like a letter U. So we have our nostrils and we have that little curve of our nose, and now we're just gonna connect it all. So I'm keeping it light, but I'm gonna come up almost like a little rainbow hill, and then work my way around the bottom of that circle, and then another little hill, okay? And that's all we're gonna do to the nose right now. Later, we will shade it to give it more a realistic look, and to give it some shadows, and to give it some depth. So the lips, I'm going to do some guide lines and circles as well. So we know that the lips are going to be right on this line, but again, we need to figure out how wide we're going to make the lips. I'm going to go to my pupil, and I'm gonna work my way down super lightly with a line just to make a little mark here. And that is where the edge of my lips are gonna be. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna go to my pupil and I'm gonna work my way down, and I'm gonna make another line there. So that is the width of my lips. And now I need to make the top lip and the bottom lip. And so to do that, I am going to draw that same circle that I did on my nose. I am going to draw one here, sitting on top of the line. And one trick is it should be about 1 finger away from your nose. So go ahead and measure that. 1 finger away from your nose. You're going to draw your circle. And right underneath that circle, I'm going to do 2 more. So it creates almost like a triangle, okay? Draw them lightly because they will be erased. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to connect this line to this one. And to do that, I'm gonna have to go through these circles. So I am going to go through the circle. So I'm gonna go straight across, and when I get to those circles, I need to make that little curve. So you see what I did? I made a little curve so I wouldn't cover up any of the circles. I kind of went around the circles, and now I'm gonna go all the way across to the other line and connect that. To this top circle, I'm gonna do the same thing I did to the nose. I'm going to erase it. So now it looks almost like a U, okay? And our lips have like a little dip right here, okay? So now it looks like a chocolate chip cookie that somebody took a bite out of. So now that I have my top circle the way I want it, I'm going to connect the corner of it to the edge of my mouth, and I'm going to do the same here. For the bottom lip, I'm going to go all the way across, but I'm going to make sure I touch these 2 circles. That's why I drew them, so that they could guide me. So I need to touch this one, and go all the way across. Okay? Now you can erase the circles on the inside. And it's okay if they don't erase all the way. And you can erase those corner lines. Now it's time to do the ears. So we have these lines here that we haven't yet erased. Okay, this is another trick. So our ears are as long as these 2 lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of like a question mark, and I'm going to make sure that it touches this line. So I'm just going to darken it up so you can see it. And this line that was on the bottom of our nose, I'm going to make kind of like a question mark. But instead of putting the dot at the bottom, the period, I'm going to connect it to my face with the letter U, just like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this side. So remember, my ear needs to go from this line to this line right here. So I'm gonna do a backwards question mark, and then a U that connects it. Now it's time for the neck. So the neck starts right underneath the ears, okay? And I'm gonna curve in so that it goes right underneath my pupil. So I'm gonna curve in, I'm gonna follow it, and then go straight down. Okay, so it's almost right directly under my pupil. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna start underneath the ear, and I'm gonna work my way down And there is my neck. So now it's time for hair, and hair is going to be different for everybody. Sometimes I wear my hair down, sometimes it's in a ponytail, sometimes it's in a braid. But what you're going to do is, I like to measure the forehead and use my fingers again as a measuring tool. So go ahead and measure your forehead. Your hairline might start 2 fingers away from your eyebrows, maybe 3 fingers away, maybe even 4 fingers away. I'm going to do 3 fingers away from my eyebrows. So I'm going to go to my eyebrow. I'm going to set my fingers down, and I'm going to make a little mark. And this little mark right here is going to be where my hair starts. Okay, so this is the hairline. So for now, I'm just going to curve it and connect it to my ears. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And now for the top of my hair, I'm going to come up a little bit higher than this line of my head, because you don't see the top of my head because I have hair on it. If I was bald, you wouldn't need to add an extra line here, but I'm going to add an extra line just a little bit higher than where my original head was. And I'm just going to make, for the sake of this basic video, I'm just going to go around and I am going to touch my ears. And now I can erase this line. And now you can erase any of those guidelines that you have. So any lines you still see on your face, go ahead and erase them. So right now, it's not a boy or a girl, okay? It's just the basic human face in a very relaxed state. We used measurements to make sure that everything was in place. And now you can begin adding your details, your hairstyle. Maybe if you have glasses, freckles, maybe you want your mouth smiling or your eyes winking. Maybe you want earrings or a hat. All that stuff now is really up to you. And I would suggest, if you have a mirror, to take a look in the mirror or look at a photograph, because now we are going to make it more unique to ourselves or to the person that we are drawing. Now it's time to start shading our portrait. So I'm going to use a regular pencil. I have my stump, which is a blending tool that artists use. If you don't have a stump, you can use a Q-tip and a cotton ball. And one thing I want to show you is this value scale. So you can see that with my pencil, I'm able to get all these different shades of gray. So value is the lightness or darkness of a color. And this is going to be very important when we go to shade our face. I'm going to show you with my pencil how to do value. And we are going to begin again with the eyes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my pupil is as dark as I can get it, as black as I can get it. And what I'm going to do next is I am going to draw lines, almost like if this was the sun and you were drawing sun rays shooting out from the eye. So it's going from the pupil straight out and stopping at the edge of the iris. Now, when I get to that circle, that blank circle, I don't want to go through it. I want to stop, and I want to make sure I don't put anything inside that white area. And now I'm going to darken up the edge of my iris. Okay, this all depends really on how dark your eyes are. So I'm going to do a little bit around the edge here as well. And now right next to the pupil, I am going to do another shadow, another value, and I am going to just go up and down, radiating out from the pupil in a medium value. I'm going to now make the top of my eye darker. Just going to go back and forth. And I'm going to work my way around the tear duct and just a little bit around that edge as well. I'm going to darken up the top eyelid, and I'm going to darken up the eyelashes. And what I'm going to do to the eyelashes is at the very bottom of the eyelash, I'm going to make it thicker. Same thing to the other side, but again, making sure to keep these nice and short. Making the bottom just a little bit thicker. And to the bottom eyelashes, I'm not gonna darken these up too much. I don't want them to stand out, but I am gonna darken them up just a little bit more, making them a little bit thicker. Okay, we still haven't used the tools. We'll use the tools in just a few minutes. And now to the edge, to the inside edge of my iris, I'm gonna do the same thing I did around the pupil. I'm just gonna go up and down, back and forth, all the way around. And again, this depends on the color of your eyes. If your eyes are dark, this area might be really, really dark and longer. If your eyes are really light, then you may not need to do this. So whatever you do to one eye, you're gonna do to the other eye. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna darken up the pupil, and then I'm going to just darken up the edge of the iris. I am going to make the lines radiating out from the pupil. And then I'm going to do the shadow right around the edge of the pupil. And then I will do the same to the inside edge of the iris. Again, if your eyes are light, you will make this light. If your eyes are dark, you'll make this a lot darker and fill up more of the space. The next thing I'm going to do is darken up the top of the football as well as the bottom, and then darken up the eyelashes, making sure to make the bottom of the eyelashes just a little bit thicker and darker. The bottom eyelashes will not be as dark, and again, not as long. Okay, now it's time to do the eyebrows. So the eyebrows are made up of short little hairs. So we want to draw short little lines. You don't want to draw long lines or color it in, because we want it to look like hair. So what I'm going to do, and again, if you have a mirror, definitely take a look at the mirror. I am going to begin with the inside corner of my eyebrow, and these lines are just going to be straight up and down. Straight up and down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then turn them, and they're going to go sideways. And you're going to notice if you look in the mirror, that's exactly what happens. There's actually little brushes for your eyebrows, because eyebrows can get pretty messy. And now when I get to the center of my eyebrow, I am going to do two different directions. So I'm going to take some lines and go down, and I'm going to take some lines and connect them going the other way. Okay, later we're going to shade it in. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eyebrow. So for the nose, I'm just going to darken up some areas. So I'm going to make this almost like a little oval, and I'm going to make this dark. And I'm going to do the same thing here, almost like a little oval, and I'm going to darken that up. And again, you may want to take a look at the shape of your nose. Maybe this part of your nose is long and tall and thin. Maybe it's wider. Again, take a look at your nose. I'm going to do a little bit of shading around here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the side of my pencil, and I'm going to go from my eyebrow very lightly, working my way towards the pupil. And I'm going to do the same thing here, just to create a little bit of a shadow, which I'm going to work with my Q-tip and cotton ball and stump in just a minute. So I'm going to use the edge of my pencil just to create some shadows around there. And now I'm going to start shading around the eyes before I work my way down to the mouth. So I am going to very, very lightly, with one of my lightest values on the side, is I am going to shade around the inside corner, or rather the outside corner of the eye, and around the top of the football. Just a little bit under the eye, not too much. I don't want to make it look like I have a black eye. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Work my way. And I'm not going to shade the whole face, because the cotton ball and the Q-tip and the stump are really going to move around a lot of my shadows. Now to my cheek, I do almost like an upside down triangle. So very lightly again, almost like an upside down triangle. You see that? Almost like an upside down triangle. Very lightly, I'm going to shade the side of my face, just like this. I can't emphasize enough how important it is, boys and girls, to always draw light until you get it right, okay? All right, so now I can start working on my lips. Okay, so to my lips, I am going to draw some lines on my lips. And again, if you take a close look in the mirror, you're gonna notice that our lips have little wrinkles in them. So I'm gonna do one right down the middle, and then just a few, not a lot and not very dark, all the way towards the end. Not dark, not too many, and I'm gonna do the same thing to the bottom. Okay, and now I'm gonna start adding some shadows. So that middle line, I'm gonna make it really dark. And maybe even have it curve up just a little bit on the ends. So I'm gonna make this the darkest value I can get. Okay, and now I'm going to start adding some more values. So to the top lip on the line, I'm just gonna go up and down, all the way across. I'm not shading in the whole lip, just that top edge over the line. I'm giving it a medium value, not super dark, not as dark as the line across the lips, but about a medium value. And I'm going to shade my lips in a much lighter value. And I'm gonna leave just a little section of white here to make it look just a little bit shiny, because our lips are sometimes wet from licking our lips. And to the bottom, I am going to do 4 ovals down here, and I'm going to shade around those in a light value. In just a minute, we're gonna blend everything together. And on the end, I can show a little bit of value, just so it looks like I'm kind of turning up my lips just a little bit. Now I'm gonna take the side of my pencil, and I'm going to do like a big long U right here. I know there's a name for that, but I'm not really sure what it is. And just a little bit of value around my lips, under my lips, very light. Around my nose. And then right underneath my lips, so I'm gonna make the edges of my lips just a little bit darker. Now right underneath my lips, I'm going to do kind of like a hill. Very light, again, and I'm going to shade the edge of my chin and some shadow on my neck. I'm gonna do some shadows right along the edge of my hair. My ear. And now it's time to start using the tools. So you can pretty much use whatever you want, but what you don't wanna do is you don't wanna take your cotton ball or your stump and go over the entire paper, because then everything is going to be the same value, and we don't want that. We wanna work our way to lights, mediums, and darks. So I'm gonna show you with the Q-tip, just in case that's all you have at home, and I'm gonna begin around the eye. So in the eye, I'm just going to start blending, and you're gonna see that my Q-tip starts to get a little dirty, and that's exactly what we want. I'm going to blend just the iris, and I'm not gonna go inside of my white circle. I want my white circle to remain white, white, white. Okay, you can already see the difference in the different values of gray. And now wherever I have my shadows, I am going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to rub very, very lightly. So wherever I created those shadows, I am going to rub very, very lightly to blend it all in. And again, you can use any tool you want, okay? Just make sure you're not rubbing over everything, and you just start rubbing it in. Once you have shaded your face, you might realize that some of your details went away. So you can definitely go back in and bring out some of those details with your pencil. Make sure it's a sharp pencil, and darken up anything else you want to darken up. I'm gonna shade in a little bit, not too heavy on my eyebrows, because I still do wanna be able to see those lines that I made. If you make it too dark, you won't see those lines. So I'm gonna shade that. And then we can start talking about hair, okay? And hair is gonna be different for everybody. So today I am going to do my hair kind of in like a braid. So I part my hair to the side. So I'm just gonna come over here and I'm going to make a little wavy line coming down, and some of my hair comes down and covers up a little bit of my eyebrow and just over here. So for the hair, you want to use both the tip of your pencil and the side of your pencil. You want skinny lines and thicker lines to really give you the illusion of value and different strands of hair. So again, I'm going to make it look like my hair is in a side ponytail, and I'm going to have it come right over here, and I'm going to make it like a braid. So for a braid, I'm just going to make almost like a long cloud. It's going to come off the edge of my paper, just like this, and then I am going to kind of go back and forth in little X's. So that is the basic outline of my hair, and that's the first thing you want to do when you start thinking about your hair, is the outline of the hair. Once you have the basic outline of your hair, then you can start adding your details. So like I said, I'm going to do some really heavy, dark, thick lines. My hair is blonde with some brown in it, so I definitely want some thick, darker lines, and then I'm going to do some thinner lines. So when you're drawing your hair, one of the things you really need to think about is you want to draw the lines of your hair in the direction that you brush your hair. So I brushed my hair going down to pull it down to this little ponytail and this little braid. So you can see that the lines on my braid are now going to turn in different directions, because again, you want to draw the lines in the direction that your hair is being combed or brushed. So I made some thick lines, okay? I can shade in some areas now with some lighter values, and again, it all depends on your hair color, how dark or how light it is. And now I'm going to blend it with my cotton ball, not too hard, because I still want to see, again, all of the different grays and values. And so after I do this, I'm going to come in with the tip of my pencil and now start doing some more detailed lines. So now I'm going to use the very, very tip of my pencil, a very sharpened pencil, and I am going to do more lines. And again, you want to draw them in the direction that your hair goes. So I'm not going to do my lines like this, because my hair is going down and around the back of my ear and my neck. Maybe do a couple of little wisps. And the same thing over here. Maybe a couple of little hairs that came down out of my braid. And you can see that these lines are skinnier and much darker. I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis on the ears, because a lot of them are going to get covered up, but you can darken it up. You can even add a little earring. I'll just do a little circle and just darken up whatever I want to reinforce. Okay, so once you are finished with your drawing and your shading, you can add anything extra you want. You can add a bow in your hair. If you have glasses, one trick I really like to do is to take your real glasses and take them off your face and put them over your eyes, just like this, and then carefully trace around your glasses. If you trace around your glasses, you will get the perfect shape and it'll really start to look a lot like you. If you want to add freckles, a necklace, earrings, if your shoulders are showing up in your paper, you definitely want to add a shirt. So think about the type of collar you're doing. And then in the background, you never want to leave it blank. So I just shade it in with a light value and then you're done.